Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. I do apologize for my lateness, by the way. I'm a little bit late today, but we're here. In today's video, then, we are going to be talking all about this upcoming new moon in Gemini. So let's dive straight in, shall we? The new moon is happening on the 6th of June. And just before we do get into it, I want to remind you of the astrology products I have available. You can find them by going to hannahselsewhere.com. eBooks, guides, all that good stuff. Plus, there is, of course, the Cosmic Check-In podcast. If you did not know already, there are 13 episodes up on the podcast this far. So Mercury is one of the most recent, by the way. Yeah, so I highly recommend checking out the podcast. And I want to also say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. Thank you so much. Okay, so here we have a bit of an overview of this upcoming new moon. And we're going to try and keep it somewhat short and brief today. But we have here this Gemini stellium. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 celestial bodies in the sign of Gemini. That's pretty massive. One of which involves Jupiter, and of course Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Plus we also have here Venus, which is the same degree as the new moon, which is pretty fascinating, which we will talk about. But with the Gemini stellium here, right, with all of these planets gathered up in the sign of Gemini, there's such a significance here, isn't there? There's a significance to do with our intellect, to do with change. Change is certainly upon us, variety, flexibility, but then again, is there understanding going along with that change? Is there greater knowledge and greater wisdom going along with that change? Because Sagittarius opposite is very empty. And so there's a lack of balance. There's a lack of that harmony there. So we'll try and explore that today. And the other thing about it is such changes are certainly going to be disruptive in ways that you did not expect possible. And, you know, in ways where it's like you're forced. Okay, you're forced. Reason being because Pluto is creating this trine to Jupiter and also to Mercury. And keep in mind that Mercury is the dispositor of the new moon. So Mercury's home there in Gemini, and being the dispositor of the new moon, it does add some significance. So there's a lot of mental shifts happening for many of us. Naturally, you know, when it comes to experiencing mental shifts, this can manifest outwardly as well. Even think about how Venus can show up as the physical body. So yeah, the earthly plane, you know, so it could very well be that our health, our well-being, our body is really asking us, okay, you need to change something. Maybe even in this way, there's going to be a pretty profound and powerful way that our minds and our bodies are going to communicate with each other. Yeah, because Mercury, Jupiter is, well, more so Mercury, more mental. Jupiter, of course, is the higher mind. So I suppose in this way, there's something highly spiritual as well about this upcoming new moon. But then Venus, and then even with the sun and moon there, all very much about, okay, your physical body, your physical well-being, all of that stuff. Hello to you, Amy. Welcome. Hi. And hi to Angie. Welcome. Sending love, you said, from Arizona. Nice. Sending love to you right back from Belfast. Nice. Thank you for being here. I hope you benefit from today's video. And just following on from what I was talking about there, okay, so how this upcoming new moon, you know, there is something highly connecting between our mind and our body and the relationship, I want you just to remember that this is so much what Gemini is about. Gemini is the bridge. Gemini is like the bridge between heaven and earth. And there's a lot of symbolism, when it comes to the duality with relation to Gemini. It's about unity. Think also about Hermes, right? The messenger of the gods who would deliver information back and forth. Hermes would fly into the heavens, fly into the underworld. And there's a lot of symbolism in that. Think about the higher mind, think about your unconscious mind, think about what isn't within your conscious awareness yet, and what is still to be, what is still to come. And how is it as well that the unconscious can at times dictate what we do with our lives? So, let's just say, with so much Gemini happening, and we think about the information so far, it can appear as if many of us are sort of confused at the moment, or hey, maybe a better way to put it is directionless, a little bit like, which option do I choose? Which way do I go? Which message do I listen to? Which information do I take in? Right? There's a lot of this like juggling, jumbling, just scatterbrained. I'm not really sure. This is the energy that we're dealing with here. Mental chatter, mental games, all of that stuff. Hello to HH, welcome, hi. And Lisa, hello, you say you're joining from Georgia, nice. Hello to you, welcome. And you said, Francisco, welcome to you as well. So unity powers by unity. Yeah, I suppose, I even think about that word unity in relation to the Aquarian archetype with Pluto creating the trines. But anyway, let's then think about that a bit more, because Pluto retrograde is trining Jupiter a lot more closely. And then there's still a bit of a trine, of course, to Mercury. So as I was saying previously, there's just something about the mind. There's something about our mentality that is trying to push through. We could see renewals. We could see major shifts and transformations here. Angie, you said that you're 15 degrees mid-heaven. I'm guessing you have a Virgo rising then. And you've also got moon in Gemini. Fascinating. Okay, so this new moon is going to happen right on your midheaven, basically. Yeah, big energy shifts for you when it comes to career. Oh, yes, we're definitely going to be touching on that information for Virgo today. But yeah, that's a really great point, because you think about that just in terms of where this new moon is happening for everyone. And the major shifts that, you say you've got Virgo sun and ascendant. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So the major shifts that are going to happen for everyone. And with the Pluto retrograde, with the trine. Now, with trines, of course, trines do have like this Jupiter-like quality to them. So there can be expansion, there can be growth, but it may be the type of growth that you don't necessarily think you want, right? It's almost as if Pluto says, this is actually what's best for you. This is actually about a renewal that may seem uncomfortable. It's this type of energy where you're kicking and you're screaming and you're refusing to sort of maybe see the truth or accept what is. But keep in mind too that Jupiter can also in a way be tied to judgment, right? And what I mean by this, it's sort of like that analysis of, are we being honest with ourselves? How are we judging fairly a situation? And we can maybe see this then playing out during this new moon within the Gemini house. But the other thing about it is the new moon and Venus, they're making a square to Saturn quite strongly, actually. So there's a 2-degree orb with the square. That then I feel is a part of where the challenge lies, but I also feel as if Saturn and Pisces can, and hopefully in a way we can use it to our benefit. See, with squares have more of a Mars-like quality to them. So there could be some conflict and tension between our mind versus our spiritual world. So there could even be some blockages to do with our intuition, maybe because of all the mental chatter. But with that being said, I think what is important to do is to also help lean on this Pisces influence too. It's because the reason why I say this is because there's so much Gemini, right? There's just a lot of that. So maybe a good way to help us, to assist us during this new moon, and I'm saying this, but it's like I need to take my own advice. It's to be able to unplug, switch off, turn it off, quiet, silence. You don't need that, right? Use a bit of, I suppose, discernment in that way to kind of measure and figure out, right, this isn't serving me. This isn't, good for my mental health, my mental well-being. What can I do to maybe help myself or support myself emotionally, spiritually, intuitively, these types of things. And then we also have here lastly Pallas, well, a couple. Mars is still conjunct Chiron. I would say, the orb is a little bit wide there to Chiron, but we have sort of noticed lately, because the conjunction has been a bit stronger lately, and a new cycle was also ushered in, but lately there has been, I would say, new beginnings to do with our energetic healing, our physical energy, right? Our physical body and momentum. So the momentum, the energy that goes into our body and the drive that we have and the motivation, the passion that we have. I mean, just following from my own sort of view on this, my own experience, I have not felt the most motivated lately. Very flat, very like, why bother? Why am I doing this? What's the point? Just the lack of motivation has, the motivation has not been there. But what has been really good about this is I've been able to take that as a time period to see, right, okay, what is it about, my physical energy? Maybe do I need rest? Maybe do I need to take a different approach? Perhaps I can remind myself of my own confidence. I can see my potential. But keep this in mind then on a collective level. Think about this information when it comes to your life and maybe themes that have come up, themes even linked to your destiny, your purpose right now, because the North Node is still in Aries. And then lastly, we have Pallas retrograde. Yeah, so we have Pallas retrograde trine Vesta. So, with those asteroids, I would say, especially with Pallas retrograde, I would say there has been a reassessment of our creative visualization of our strategies. And that reassessment has come from a much more deeper and introspective place with Pallas retrograde in Scorpio. But because Pallas retrograde is creating that same degree trine to Vesta, there's something here about nurturing, protection. And we're going to touch more on that. But then, hey, maybe just, let me see if I count 16. Yeah, I mean, the new moon also is making a bit of a sextile to Chiron too, I would say. But the orb it's a little bit wider, but hey, maybe a little bit of that Aries energy is sort of bleeding into the Gemini slightly, and it's sort of highlighting again, it's highlighting further the communication piece between the mind and the body, and how those matters may also be linked to your own independence, our identity, and potential healing and wounds to do with our life path. Of course, the North Node. The North Node is making a sextile to the new moon. So I would say, yeah, what I said there, take that on board, because this could be like let's just say this new moon is sort of like a course corrector, possibly. It could be more of a switch, a change, what can I do? How can I be more flexible to align myself with what I actually want in life? Or how can I be brave here to take the next step forward? Oh, we like that. Okay. So that's pretty much an overview. And I may just skip through a lot of the information because I feel like I've said most of it. But just as a reminder here, new moons, what are new moons about? It's about gaining a fresh perspective. It's about fresh starts, new beginnings, setting new intentions, planting new states. It's also a good time to reflect, get quiet. That's what I was kind of suggesting earlier. Having those moments of introspection, having those moments to contemplate, because Saturn is making the square to this new moon. But don't fall for the tricks either, right? The trickery, the illusions, the deception. Yes. I think even what this is suggesting is if there is any new sort of venture, new opportunity, whatever, have the writing, have the information there first before you just kind of make a decision or you just jump in. That could be an important point. But yes, new moons, get quiet, reflect. It's also the start of a new chapter, a new cycle. So think about that then when it comes to Gemini, your Gemini house. Amplified feelings are also likely. With this being Gemini, there may be a greater likelihood of chatting about our feelings, right? Wanting to talk, wanting to communicate what we're feeling, our emotions, stuff like this. And we may also be quite sensitive. We could very well be sensitive to information. And maybe that's even a bigger reason as to why it's important to step back when we can and to even have that fair assessment of, okay, is this what I need to be kind of tuning into, filling my brain with? Of course, as well, the new moon is happening at 16 degrees. So with that, that equates to the number 7 in numerology, and the number 7 is a very creative, imaginative, spiritual number. It can also be restless. I kind of see this as a good mix of that Gemini energy with Saturn and Pisces too, right? Because it's Pisces, very intuitive, imaginative, spiritual, enlightening. But then you have that Gemini feel, and that also brings a little bit of creativity to the equation as well. And hey, you know what? Gemini as well within its own right can be a pretty spiritual sign, right? Because you think about that duality. I would say all of the signs have their own sort of spiritual meanings linked to them. And of course, the restlessness, very Gemini. Okay, another thing is this is happening at the Cancer degree. So Cancer is the nurturer, the caregiver. So maybe this is really where we want to think about nurturing ourselves, taking care of ourselves, being kind to ourselves, holding space for our emotional body, stuff like this, not judging what comes through. So any significant changes, the flexibility, the adapting, the adjusting, all of the stuff to do with Gemini, even if it does seem weird or crazy or too much, it's like Cancer says, hold space for it all and just look after yourself. And lastly, I want to say this new moon is happening within the Gemini Libra decan. So there's also an element of justice. There's also an element of karma to this new moon. So maybe this is kind of where we get the course correction thing. It almost seems like this is a new moon that is going to bring so much to our conscious awareness, related to what have I achieved up till this point? What have I done up to this point within my Gemini house? How have I grown or changed when it comes to communication and learning and stuff like this? What does that look like? And then to look at the results and to kind of see or, think about which actions and choices have led up to this point. And then just to be fair with yourself and to even have a good, these decent insights into yourself to think about, hey, celebrate those wins, celebrate how far you've come, and to try and maybe not dwell on things that went wrong, but it's more about, what can I learn, right? Gemini is so much about learning. So we can learn from karma. We can learn from the actions and choices that we have made in our Gemini house. Right. So we're going to move on to just how the new moon then, yes, here we go. Yes. So we have the new moon, and then 9 months later, we've got the first quarter moon happening March 2025 at 16 degrees. So that first quarter moon is going to be when the intentions that we set within our Gemini house around this new moon, they're going to be challenged, right? They're going to be tested. But we also, when it comes to first quarter moons, we can overcome, we can strengthen ourselves, we can strengthen our skills. This could very well be us strengthening our minds, strengthening our intellect, strengthening how we educate, how we learn, and how we communicate, of course. And then the full moon will be December 2025. That will be at 13 degrees. So next year, the full moon will be a good time to release, a great time to reap rewards. So just keep in mind the trajectory, right? Keep in mind the bigger picture, I suppose you could say, when it comes to the cycles here of the moon with Gemini. And by 2026, the third quarter moon will happen, and that will be when we adjust, right? We learn. It's a good time to finalize. It's a good time to really think about, what did I learn? Hey, maybe you can even think about what you have learned since the previous third quarter moon or full moon in Gemini as well. All right, so 16 degrees, like I said, is a Cancer degree. We touched on that. And what I want you to also remember about this is by August 2024, Jupiter will be around the same degree as the new moon. So just keep track. What I always like to say is to journal, really journal around the moon phases, the moon cycles. Think about, okay, on this date, what are the intentions that you're setting, and what new seeds are you planting then? And by the time that Jupiter does reach that same degree, there could be some type of blessing or gift or expansion there, or further knowledge, further learning that will come up. And excuse me, what I also want to mention is the Venus Cassimi, an interesting one, right? This is the 5-pointed star of Venus. This is then the peak of Venus. What I want to say as well about this is the Venus Cassimi is on the 4th of June. So we're really just a couple of days after it happening. So I would still say that a lot of this energy is still very much present. I mean, it's the sun, Venus, and moon are all at 16 degrees there. Yeah, there's a peak coming, right? There's a peak within your Gemini house coming up just a couple of days before the new moon. And it will be a peak of shedding, releasing. That will be the superior conjunction. Maybe there's something about letting go, really. Thinking about it more so, hey, the shedding and the releasing and the letting go will be followed by the intention setting and the new paths and the new direction rather within our Gemini house. But what I further want to add to this is self-worth, self-love, how these matters are so important. And I think a big part of this is if it is that you feel like you want to take the leap, that's very Jupiter. I pulled the full card today. And it's just coming through. Yeah, Jupiter there. If you want to take the leap and you have this sort of thought of, I want to go for it. I want to change paths. I want to change direction. I think it's important to love ourselves through that. There could very well be many fears that come to the surface during this new moon, right? Because of Pluto, right? There is that Pluto retrograde influence. So what, fears of the unknown, fears of what is on the other side of me leaving this job or leaving this position or leaving this relationship. We don't know. You don't know. Not really. Yeah, okay, we can explore the astrology and we can use the tarot and we can use all sorts of timing tools, all the rest of it, but you don't really know until you're in it. And I do also think that a part of what Pisces is really trying to teach us, especially with Neptune being at that anaretic degree in Pisces lately, which it will continue to do so for a good few months. But what I think is coming through here is to embrace the unknown, is to welcome the mysteries of life, to welcome the notion that you don't know and that the tangible, what you think is tangible, it could just dissolve into nothingness. And there's so much trust, isn't there? There's trust in the unknown. There's trust in taking this new path toward a life that you have no idea, what's really around the corner. I have been pulling the Eight of Cups tarot card a lot over. I think it's been over the space of a couple of years, honestly. And I have some strong notions as to what that means for me. But hey, maybe the strong notion stuff, the intuition stuff is here during this new moon. And it sort of says, even though there's so much mental chatter happening during the new moon in Gemini, which can be fun and really insightful, of course. But even though all of that is happening, you know, really deep down, like the unconscious is like poking, right? The intuition is there, and it creeps in, and it gets louder, and it gets louder, and it gets louder until you do the thing, until you make that change. Oh yeah, it has a very strong say. And do you ever get that where so in hindsight, when you make a change in your life and you look back on it and you think, I knew that. Do you ever get that where like your intuition is screaming at you, and you go through an experience and then you look back and you think, yes, this I feel is what this new moon is about. And a lot of it is tied to our destiny. A lot of it is tied to the next step forward, because again, we go back to the north node, that north node influence in Aries. But then we also even want to think about the south node with the trine, the south node trines to the new moon. Back to karma. Here we go. We're back to karma. We're back to the choices we've made. And we're also considering what gifts we can carry forward to do with greater diplomacy, our ability to negotiate in healthy ways, our ability to even hold space for different options, right? Because yeah, all the Gemini could be where there's this choice, there's this option. Oh, the variety. What should I go for? A lot of that is going around. But the South Node in Libra comes along and says, yeah, explore it. But just make sure that you're weighing out things. You make sure that you're doing your pros and your cons list. Make sure that you're jumping forward with the North Node in Aries. You're moving forward with greater awareness, with greater clarity. Sort of think about, the Queen of Swords in astrology, in the tarot deck, right? Just you cut through. You've made the decision, and you're moving forward with greater understanding. And that's also perhaps where we can lean toward the Sagittarius influence a little bit with that understanding. Because with Gemini, so much Gemini, yes, it's okay to kind of spit out like facts and information and, chat about this and that. But Sagittarius, this axis, I suppose, do keep in mind that, of course, because they're on the axis, they're very similar and they are so alike, and they're like the yin yang. But anyway, but Sagittarius comes along and says, yes, but do you understand the information? And how do you live that information? How does that show up within your experience? Do you do you talk or walk the walk, rather? Do you walk the walk? Are you someone who just talk the talk, but how can you also align what you're saying with what you're doing to live it? This is what we're noticing here. And to further then mention Mercury, again, the disposer of the new moon, and then Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, by the way. Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, but that conjunction between the two, I feel, is so much about, right, okay, things like friendship, networking, advertising, marketing, sales, just new ideas, exploring other possibilities, especially possibilities tied to the likes of networking or advertising or tied to communication. But then also there's an element of possibly luck. That could be it. There could be some luck. There could be some change of events. There could be that kind of turning of the wheel. There could be optimism and possibly welcoming bigger picture ideas on the brighter side, trying to just see the possibilities, to see the brighter side of things, to try and be somewhat positive even through the challenges, right? Even through the possible upheavals or through the possible transformations where, it's almost going to feel like we're being pushed so far outside of our comfort zone. And we also want to say then that, being overly mentally stimulated is likely, which that's pretty clear. I've already really mentioned that. But again, which do you choose? Which option? This or that? A lot of mental chatter. Right, so let's move on to my screen. Okay, so the sun is about our vitality and our purpose. Moon is about our emotional security. Therefore, this is really a new cycle focusing on duality and our intellect. Then the Gemini house, it's more so about where we seek to learn. So there is something new being ushered in to do with learning. There could be a new course, a new program, a new organization here coming up for many people. Venus then is part of this because Venus is the same degree. I do apologize. That is not the correct chart, but it's okay. This is the chart. It's fine. I must have been tired when I did that. Let me see if the other one is like that. Hey, yeah, we're good. It's over on the next one. But yeah, we'll just continue anyway. Yes, so Venus is the same degree as the new moon. It is. Venus is the same degree. So Venus then adds another layer of attraction and money and values and resources. Jupiter adds the freedom, the optimism, the wisdom, and then Mercury adds the facts, the decisions, and the opinions. So you kind of mix all of these things together and you just notice how so much of our human experience is activated during this time and how many of us are just in search for change. There's just change because Gemini is such a flexible sign, and it's also about duality. It's also about more than one. So there could be a greater desire to want to multitask or to explore other options, right? As previously mentioned. And then when we think about the square to Saturn, make it long lasting. Maybe this is even a thing too that, well, this is my thought process with this is, let me just go to the next slide so I can show the actual chart while I talk about this a moment. But let's see, will you move over? Are you gonna move over for me? Lovely. My thought process with this is, what I always think of when I think of Gemini is the juggler. Gemini can juggle a few different projects at once. That's all good. But imagine it as if someone is continuously throwing more balls to Gemini and they're having to keep up more. Eventually, it could get to a point where Gemini drops all of the balls because they can't juggle them anymore. And this is sort of like a depiction of what it can be like for Gemini, right? Just spreading themselves too wide. And this is also a manifestation of us, right? Think about your own life. When can you spread yourself far too wide, right? You're grabbing a little bit over here and then you're going over here, and you only have so much time. You only have so much energy, so many resources as well. So Saturn is sort of like this big, I could say block, but I don't want to say block and make it negative. Saturn is more of a reality check. Yeah. Saturn is the reality checker. Saturn is coming along during this new moon and is sort of saying, is it worth it? Is doing all that worth it? What's it getting you? Oh, very little. Oh. How are you feeling? I'm really tired. I'm really burnt out, actually. Then that's not good for you. I think that needs to go, right? Because Pisces is about endings. Pisces is able to go, I let that go. I release that. Yeah. There may be certain projects, relationships, financial matters, work matters, health matters that come up. Of course, depends on the house being activated. But yeah, that come up for many of us during this new moon. And we're really asked to have a good, honest review. It's time to honestly review. It's time to, hey, be truthful with ourselves. Truth, Jupiter, Mercury. You cannot hide from the truth. You can't hide because, yeah, you can't hide from yourself, Saturn and Pisces. Okay. Just let me go back a second so I can grab the other information. Yeah, so as it says there, maturity. But then it's also this case of spiritual versus mental. That kind of conflict. Inner peace versus overthinking. Seeking to know the answers, but we must remember to be present. And then what I also think is important with this is the whole deceit stuff. What is it? The seven of swords. It's that the lying to ourselves, the self-deception. Also, change is not going to happen overnight. And considering, when do you martyr yourself and feel like a victim? It's time to help calm the mind. It's time to have those conversations with ourselves about, our thought process and that communicative piece, how we talk to ourselves, and do we see ourselves as victims? But then to also be proactive. There is something proactive about the mental chatter here, and how we can hopefully shift and change certain thoughts and certain conversations. There, even on a more physical level, outwardly, this could be tied to the relationships that we have with others, especially because Venus is a part of the new moon. And do keep in mind that with all that Gemini, there's freedom in it. There's the childlikeness. It's smart, it's clever, as an archetype Gemini is, and multifaceted. Still, it's a question of, hey, do you know what just came to my mind? Work smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. That's, I feel, is a big thing with this new moon in Gemini. Okay, so lastly, Pluto retrograde, again, just a reminder, trine Jupiter, and then Pallas retrograde, trine Vesta. So we have this Pluto retrograde with Jupiter. This is within an air trine. Trines have a Jupiter-like quality to them. So thinking about mindset breakthroughs and transformations, especially related to community, there's a great community focus. Worldviews and belief systems intensified. Luck renewals within teams and groups, perhaps. Innovation is very likely. Expansion, growth, technological shifts, which lead to greatness. Doing something differently leads to fame. But hey, instead of just fame, let's just say just doing something differently leads to greater happiness, greater success. That's what we want, of course, success. Jupiter can be a very successful planet. And then as well, because this is within the air element, be objective, be detached, and just there's more of a concern toward the facts, right? It's like this is more logic. This is matter of fact of, hey, can you see this information? And you consider, oh, right, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm being truthful about that. To maybe help with this a little bit more practically, think of it like this. Let's say that you are in a job and you're getting paid a certain amount every month, but then you have to kind of weigh that against the cost of living. You have to weigh that against, your bills and your rent or whatever. So the more logical side of that, I think, the more objective side of that, I think, is to be able to fairly say, right, okay, this is these are the numbers, and this is how much money then I'm getting every month. And oh, right, okay, I can use this money to sustain myself, or I can save it or whatever, or oh, right, okay, I can't. So that's like more of a factual thing, right? It's more just trying to be objective and trying to look at, okay, what information can be added here or taken away, especially because Venus is there, which, hey, the stuff that I just said, there could be that honest review when it comes to our money, literally. Okay, but I also want to say that universal concepts and truths will be addressed because Pluto and Jupiter, yeah, these more collective themes still happening, still going on. And these collective themes related to these technological advancements. But with the universal concepts and truths, there could be something about our own consciousness. There could be something about our own connection with the cosmos that will come up, and which could very well support us when it comes to our decision making. Lastly, Pallas retrograde trine Vesta. So within the water trine, emotional reviews tied to home and safety. Keeping our flame of protection alive. Resilience and fighting for our higher spiritual mission. Caring, nurturing, opening ourselves up to deeper insights, which can reshape our family matters. Intimacy and love are highlighted. Sure, this energy may not be as intense or as strong when compared to all the rest of it, but just remember, with this influence, there's still some of those emotional themes, those emotional undercurrents going on. Alrighty, so we're going to get into your horoscopes. Thank you for being here, everyone. Let's see who else has joined. Oh, Lisa, you say you've got your midheaven in Gemini as well. Very good. It's at 23 degrees. Hello, welcome to DRNLL. You say from the Netherlands. Awesome. Welcome to you. That was a good while that you said hello, so I'm not sure if you're still here, but hey. Hello to Jack. Welcome. Hello, Alexander. And yes, Francisco, you said that you're from sending love from California. Nice. Oh, Angie, you said every time Jupiter enters, your career takes off in some way, lots of expansion. It's conjunct your natal Jupiter. Oh, that's going to be extra potent for you then. All right. So we are going to get into your horoscopes. Thank you for being here, everyone. And we're just going to keep them brief today. Aries. Okay, Aries. So here we see that the new moon in Gemini is happening in your third house. Yeah, so a lot to do with, of course, learning, studying, researching, investigating, reporting, communicating. So many decisions, Aries. So many decisions are to be made, so many options to choose from, or it could feel like your options are limited because of the square to Saturn. That could be a possibility, right? It could perhaps spiritually or emotionally feel like your options are limited. Let's just rephrase it that way. It's not that they are physically, it's more that there's a feeling, right? There's this feeling of like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure if I have what it takes to take the next step. There's I feel like for many Aries, there's a slight panic. There's a slight freak out. We may also further see this because Mars is there. It's still with that conjunction to Chiron. It is easing a lot. But I can't help but feel as if for many Aries, especially lately and then leading up to the new moon, your direction, your life path, your goals, your aims, they've been challenged a bit. And maybe some of it is because of, this having to address a wound or having to address a rejection, or maybe fearing that you will be rejected. But this is then about living up to your fullest potential. This is about being that warrior, being brave. Chiron in your sign Aries has not been the easiest for these past few years. It hasn't. And I'm not saying that as a very extreme thing that everything's just been bad. No. Chiron is the healer. Chiron can be more of this wise figure, right? Chiron was a wise sage. So you have been, going deeper into yourself and working through any, fears or insecurities to do with leadership, to do with independence and your identity. But yeah, it's that process though. It's just sort of like to constantly dig myself out of this, right? Be strong. Be strong, Aries. Know that you've got this. Know that, the answers that you're looking for, they will become clearer. They will. Think about that, the sort of cut through energy that I just said, because the thing about air in astrology is that, yes, it can be really scattered and it can be sort of like, oh, I'm not really sure, and too many thoughts and nervousness and all of the rest of it. But it can also be very decisive, just like, no, I've made my point. I'm going forward. It's what I'm doing. Consider as well with the influences to, the sextiles to the new moon, and then with the North Node as well. So there is something about your destiny here, and there is something about a leap of change. And hey, to finish it off for you, Pluto is making that trine. So Pluto is in the 11th house. So perhaps such new intentions and new beginnings that are set around this new moon on the 6th of June to do with the likes of communication, learning, and stuff like this, your local neighborhood, all of that, they will, those changes or those intentions, those beginnings will be tied to the likes of networking, innovation, social change, justice, freedom, your hopes and wishes for the future, Aries. Yes. Plus, hey, with Venus being right there, with the new moon, there is also an element of you taking a stand when it comes to your self-worth. Taurus. Okay, so Taurus, for you, we have the new moon happening in your second house. Now, this is an interesting one. What I kind of want to think about for you, Taurus, is where we're coming from. Interesting to think that Jupiter was in your sign for the past year. And what you're kind of left with right now is seeing what blessings, have been left and what rewards are present for you. What has changed on a very physical, practical level, because Taurus, you're all about the physical world. So you could very well be in this point of you could very well be in this stage right now of I feel content, or I feel grateful or blessed or whatever. But we see here with the new moon in your second house that there's change. There is a swift change. There is a calling to be flexible, a calling to make certain adjustments. So adjustments to your bank account, for instance, or there could be some significant changes to do with how you earn money. Venus even is your chart ruler. So Venus is there with the new moon, which I feel is quite beautiful, really, for you. So how wonderful for you. So it could be certain beneficial matters to do with money and everything, or it could be where there's some type of insight, there's some type of, oh, I can see a new way that can be really wonderful, or you can afford certain things, that can be very valuable. Or, hey, to move it away from money, this could be related to your body. This could be related to your health, your physical health, your physical well-being. And so thinking about the certain shifts and changes moving about there. But then on the other hand, we want to think about how Saturn is making that square. So we further see some types of delays, perhaps setbacks and limitations related to teams, groups, and organizations, and how these matters may be tied to the money stuff, to the financial stuff. So what I would say about this one is to just be patient, to be steady. Don't need to tell you twice. Don't need to tell you twice, Taurus. But maybe as well, what's coming through here is with so much Gemini, because Gemini can at times be inconsistent, easily bored, restless. So with all that Gemini, maybe there's a part of you that's starting to feel this way about the financial stuff or about the material stuff, right? There's this kind of nervousness, this, oh, I'm not really sure, like nothing is really set in stone right now, but I really want it to be, but I'm still waiting on those calls. I'm still waiting on the information coming from a manager, an advisor, a boss, whatever. Just hold steady. Hold steady through it. But then again, this could also be a good opportunity for greater creativity, right? Thinking about the second house through a lens of skills and talents, stuff like this. So it could very well be here that for you, Taurus, that new beginnings are coming, right? New beginnings are coming to do with your skills and talents and how those matters are linked to the likes of marketing, advertising, socializing. I mean, Taurians, you can be so skilled at being social, right? Using the correct sort of way to relate to other people, to socialize, to build that rapport. And I would also say you can be great with your words. So hey, working with your hands. Working with your hands, crafts, art, beauty, creativity, all that good stuff. So yes, new beginnings are upon the horizon here for you, Taurus, to do with your skills and talents and how those things could very well adjust and change in huge ways, expansive ways. Then you throw into the mix with the trine to Pluto there in the 10th house. So we also are noticing, the renewals and the transformations to do with your life path, actually, to do with professionalism, to do with your public image. Okay, so Gemini. Gemini. Okay, I'm just going to take a bit of water. Hello, hi. Yana, hi, welcome to you. Gemini, you're up. So we have the new moon happening in your sign. So yes, happy birthday, Gemini. I hope all of you solar Gemini have the best birthday. So much energy happening in which area? Well, it's all about you, isn't it? It's all about your focus. It's all about your identity, how you establish yourself. Your sense of self is also called to question here. You could very well be feeling yourself. What I mean by this is many Gemini, you could be feeling very confident right now, right? You've got Venus and Jupiter in your sign and the sun. You're like, oh, wait, you want to take my autograph? You got to get in line, okay? Yeah, they're basically, I'm just joking with you, but there could be a greater sense of recognition and success and people noticing you, giving you attention, giving you compliments. It's almost like, hey, all the lights are on you. So the spotlight is on you, Gemini, and you may feel that, or you may feel quite confident or enjoy that extra attention. You could very well be very magnetic, very attractive during this time. People may want to be working with you, right? You're the one who people are like, who are we hiring for the job? Who are we getting for this opportunity? Yeah, we're going to pick a Gemini because they know what they're doing. They're going to be perfect for this. Maybe such matters are linked to marketing, advertising, gaming. Gaming could be a big thing. Teaching, mentoring, guiding, all these reporting, podcasting, whatever, writing. Yeah. So for you, Gemini, it just seems like all you have to do is reach out your arm and there is an opportunity for you to pick. It's like, I'm going to pick that. What I want, I'm going to pick that. But what I also want to say, here's the catch. Here is the catch. Saturn is making a square to the Gemini, to the new moon, and to Venus. So we want to get you thinking also about the long haul. We want to get you thinking about how can I also be mature? How can I be mature? Even though people are like coming to you saying, we want you. You step back and you go, how much? What am I getting paid? What's the exposure? What are the benefits? How long do I have to be here? Right? It's just having that moment of, I know my worth and I know my expertise, actually. The professionalism stuff, the expert stuff, the longevity, the hard work, the commitment stuff to do with Saturn. There's just something here about you taking charge, you stepping into this position of, I'm not just going to settle. However, this could also be where certain new beginnings tied to your life path, your aims, your goals, those new beginnings could very well have a commitment to them. There could be longevity present, but perhaps what is also required is a little bit of negotiation or a little bit of, okay, how can I expand a bit and how can I see which path can be the best decision for me? Just sort of having that future focus a little. Just, thinking more about how do these new opportunities, how do they serve me in the long run in this mature way? Yeah, because Saturn is very much about longevity. So just want to say that with the trines to Pluto, there also seems to be a big part of how your very beliefs, your very morals could shift and change over the next while. So there could be new beginnings coming up to do with your life path and new goals, new aims, your identity, your physical body, all the rest of it. But then there's also an element of higher learning, your belief systems maybe being challenged, or you having these epiphanies or having these aha moments of like, oh, wow, how did I not see that before? Or it could be you really taking on a new mentorship program or you being that mentor, right? There's just an elevation, I think, Many Gemini, you're elevating your own sort of consciousness. You're elevating your own knowledge and worldviews to such an extent that the way you do see the world, it's just going to change so much. Just going to change so much. Yeah. So Cancer. Yes, Cancer. Here we go. The new moon is happening in your 12th house. Cancer. Everybody gets their turn at this. I just want to say. And what I mean by this is everybody has their turn in the zodiac when it comes to that deep healing, that deep inner exploration, the ability to go within, the ability to contemplate and to separate from the world. And maybe with you being you, Cancer, which, you can go into your shell, you can go into hiding, you can retreat. Maybe this energy will serve you well. Maybe you will be somewhat comfortable in this energy. But at the same time, do be mindful, because what this could also indicate is that all of the thoughts could come in. And perhaps this is why it could be beneficial for many Cancerians to, this is if you can, and I understand that not everybody can do this, I get it, but it could be a beneficial thing for Cancerians to meditate around this time, or to at least to be able to switch off your mind to the best of your ability, to even, I would even say possibly distract the mind from going to certain paths, from going down certain paths. Because what I'm getting from this is, let's keep in mind with Gemini, Mercury, there can be that trickster influence, especially in the 12th house. There could be the kind of deceptions, the narratives, the false narratives, the false promises that come through. So it's important, I think, to kind of turn the dial down, turn the volume down a bit, maybe through knitting or listening to music, taking a nap, whatever have you, a nice bath. But again, this does really depend on who you are and the context, right? Like your own personal way of dealing with these things, because it can be difficult to switch off the mind, especially if there is a lot of worry or nervousness. But what I further even want to add to this is you could be proactive, right? You could channel this, right? You could perhaps learn more, or you could research, you could go behind the scenes and like read, take in information, maybe learn a new skill, learn a new subject, gain greater clarity about a subject, greater understanding about it. Maybe as well, there's something here about self-love and self-compassion, but there's healing involved, I think, and how that healing is tied to your own mental well-being. Could even just be a great time of inspiration for many Cancerians, right? So to be inspired by media, music, art, whatever have you. And with the new moon also making this trine to Pluto, well, sorry, not the new moon, but Jupiter and Mercury. Yeah, just to be specific there. But yeah, with the trine to Pluto in the 8th house, there's also something about your own your own perceptions of how you see the world, and possibly as well experiencing these major breakthroughs to do with intimacy, especially intimacy when it comes to the collective, or feeling sort of a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Yeah, and such breakthroughs could really be quite deep and profound and really uncomfortable for many of you. But maybe, just maybe, you're actually shown, and this could be a theme that has happened quite a bit through lately for you, Cancer, is you're being shown these charitable, generous, giving qualities coming from, hey, it could be could be certain Aquarians within your life. That could be a possibility with Aquarius. But basically it could just be from people who are well-intended, people who care about humanity. Maybe you being inspired then by people within groups and friendships and things like this. Yeah, I can even see just your social circles really expanding, but I think this is more of an inner thing, right? There's more of a feeling tone to this. Maybe what this is even highlighting is a sense of belonging. This could be a big theme for many Cancerians around the new moon, and then how matters will start to unfold. Hello, Rachel. Hello to you. Welcome. Leo. All right, so Leo, this new moon is happening in your your 11th house. So what I'm thinking about this, Leo, is how your social circles are going to expand, how your networks will expand over the next while, possibly new beginnings, being involved in new social situations, even just letting your freak flag fly because of the trine between Jupiter and Pluto in the 7th. There's something here about getting close to others, but not too close. Sort of having a sense of community. There is a sense of belonging, but you don't feel like you need to attach too heavily. There can also be this healthy detachment. Or maybe there's a lot to do with certain causes or movements or charities that you want to be a part of or that you wish to give to. Possibly a great time for marketing yourself, advertising, getting your name out there, being involved within society, being involved within the clubs, and possibly feeling quite confident. This is great for you, Leo. So yeah, feeling confident about even what you say, about what you share, even this likelihood of you taking on something like a public speaking experience. You potentially speaking in front of the public, or you possibly even performing in front of the public or within this public setting where there's just a lot of people and all eyes are on you. And this could even be a possibility of your hopes and wishes for the future calling your name. And it could very well seem like the future is bright because Jupiter's there, Venus is there. But I think at the same time, your hopes and wishes for the future are so much about having that flexibility, having that freedom to learn and to switch things up when you want to. And you might find as the time, as time goes on from the new moon, that there will be people in your life who will, hey, it could even be that they come in and you make new friends and you feel like this is great because I'm with people who love me, but they also give me the space that I need when I need it. Yeah. And furthermore, I just want to say, however, that the new moon is making the square to Saturn in the 8th house. What I'm getting from this is what you're thinking about is probably a lot bigger and a lot more scarier in your head than it is within reality. What I'm getting from this is possibly having to address when you're deceiving yourself or when you're deceiving others. And maybe a lot of this is tied to trust. Perhaps a lot of this is tied to intimacy, perhaps past hurts, past betrayals. It's an interesting one because what I have observed from Leo is a sign that is often brokenhearted. Maybe because Leo, you tend to give others the benefit of the doubt. You tend to see the best in other people, which I love. I love that. I love that about you, you know? And you also may be this type of person who it's like, when it comes to other people, you expect it to be, take me as I am. There's no funny business, right? Because you're not like that. You're like, I'm being authentic. I'm being honest. I'm being real with you. If there is that kind of sneaky shadiness, then you're very quick to, no, that's not okay. So I can't help but feel as if Saturn in Pisces is sort of poking at that. It's poking at that part of you, possibly pointing at some suspicions or pointing at some commitments that you feel, commitments that you respect, right? You're going to respect other people so much more whenever they are honest with you, for instance. Whenever they stick to their word, they keep to their word. Yeah, so there could be something about these matters that will come up, and perhaps how such matters will be linked again to friendships. Also, not just friendships, but think about like teams, organizations, major companies or firms that you're a part of. This stuff could also be related to work. Okay, so Virgo. Virgo. All right. 10th house. New moon in the 10th house. Virgo. Where did I begin for you? Well, let's think of it like this. Not only is the new moon happening in the 10th, Pluto is also in the 6th, creating the trines to Jupiter and Mercury. What I want you to remember about these houses is that they are linked to the physical world. They show up as, well, possibly career, work, services, but also our reputation, our life's mission, our life's work, and our health and how we look after our body, self-care. So with that, I want to say Pluto is retrograde here in the 6th, and Pluto will dip back into Capricorn for a couple of months, right? Yes, okay. And then by the end of the year, Pluto will officially enter your 6th house for its full 20-year transit. But what I want to think about with this is that back and forth of Pluto over the past year or so. What I'm getting from this is you are itching for a change. I think you are actually welcoming it. You're craving some type of renewal, a release to do with work. And what I'm also getting from this is you trying every possible option available. And that's the thing about you, Virgo, is you are going to explore what works best. And when something does work well, you're going to thrive within that. You're going to thrive. You're going to be consistent. You're going to be hardworking. You're going to be dedicated. But if it doesn't work, there's errors. It's no longer functioning the way it used to. You know, basically, that when something has, it's no longer, you've outgrown it. When something has ended and it has reached its sell-by date, when the bread has went stale, when the milk is off, you know. And so what I'm getting from this energy is you possibly choosing a new path for yourself when it comes to your life's work. Naturally, this doesn't have to be such a jarring thing. Maybe I'm making it out to be quite like extreme. It doesn't have to be a matter of, well, that's it. I'm done. It could feel like that. But if anything, I think what this is indicating is what changes can you make? What other ideas can you explore so that you do feel more successful, so that you can expand? And you may very well be surprised and shocked by even just the littlest of things that you do to improve your life around this new moon and during the unfolding of it. You may be surprised by how the littlest of improvements can make the biggest of changes for you. And hey, with all of this Gemini energy in your 10th house is about success. 10th, we want to be successful. I mean, of course, whatever it is, think about purpose, whatever your purpose is, whatever you're working toward, whatever you're building toward. Of course, we want it to be successful. Why wouldn't we, right? So for you, it is about success. And I think a lot of it is the success of your intellect, the success of your mind, the success of your ability to teach, to process information, to market, to research, whatever, all these Gemini areas and themes, basically. And you could even very well welcome a different side of you. So, of course, it doesn't just have to be where there's like a harsh end, but it could be about welcoming another part of your identity, another part of your personality, welcoming that on board, or exploring something new and then recognizing, oh, I didn't realize that I like that. I didn't realize that I would enjoy this so much. Whoa. Perhaps even such matters are strongly linked to media or computing or social, especially social media, or reading or writing. Your reputation is about to go through a major shift. But what I further even want to mention about this, Virgo, is remember that your accomplishments and your achievements do not define your worth. I just want you to remember that. They don't. Maybe this is another reason why it's good to think about how the new moon is making the trine to the South Node. So there is something about this stepping away. There is something about this, leaving a situation behind. So that's just a reminder. But for you, Virgo, the South Node is in the second house, and that's so much about worth. So even if you are a Virgo and you've been showing dedication, you've been working hard toward a certain goal, or you've been showing up consistently within an area, within a job, whatever it is, a position, just remember that even if you do welcome a change, which you could mourn, there could be grief. There could be grief present there. But those things do not define your worth, and that you are ever evolving, you're ever changing. You're a mutable sign after all, Virgo. You welcome change. You may not be comfortable with change, and there may be a part of you that kind of thinks, oh no, right? Because you can struggle at times with, these fears, these feelings of self-doubt, the criticisms, stuff like this. But there is a beauty here. And the thing about it too is whenever you do focus more on yourself, right, that's self-containment. It's like, no, I'm bringing it back to what I need, what makes me happy, what makes me feel good. Whenever you do that, Virgo, you soar. You're so madly respected for that. Lastly, then, I just want to say that there is the square to Saturn. So there could also be some limitations and setbacks to do with clients and customers right now, or to do with partnerships, to do with business deals, work contracts, agreements, all these types of things. But just trust that the answers you need are coming. And that greater clarity is upon you. Maybe I said us because I have a Virgo rising. All right, so we're going to move on to Libra now. I definitely went on a little bit longer for you, Virgo. Maybe it's because I'm biased with my Virgo energy. Libra, all right. Oh, Libra, a lot is happening for you. Ninth house territory here, the new moon. Oh, well. Belief systems are certainly going on a new path. We could see you graduating whilst, the unfolding of the new moon occurs. We could see a new program that you join, a new course. We could see a new shift of perspective, or your worldviews could very well shift and move about. Maybe as well, there's travel upon the horizon for many Libras, or it's that you can sense that your way of viewing the world, it is about your curiosity. It is about trying to learn new things and add to your understanding. And freedom even is a big part of this for many Libras. Freeing yourself from an old narrative, possibly even if we think about how Pluto is in the 5th house, right? So the trines to Jupiter and Mercury in the 9th, there could be freedom here related to your hobbies or your forms of enjoyment, or even your ego. Freeing the ego from certain attachments that no longer serve you. It's an interesting one because, of course, you are the 3rd earth sign, right? So all the Gemini, and then there's the Aquarius, and then we've got you. The South Node is also there. But with the South Node, there is that trine to the new moon. So there is an element of, okay, how are you remaining within your comfort zone? And can you step outside of your comfort zone a bit there? Can you welcome this greater clarity to do with self-exploration? Or maybe it's that you wish to grow when it comes to what you actually enjoy, right? Aligning yourself with, okay, this is what I love. This is what I truly desire and appreciate. Children could very well be on your mind strongly around this new moon, Libra, because of the trine to Pluto retrograde. Yes, children could be on your mind. There could be major transitions and transformations to do with children coming up, or even just to do with parenthood in general. Or there could be the unfolding of a certain way of expressing yourself. Yeah, the transformation of self-expression, indeed. But that could even show up as confidence. It could show up as, I know what I'm talking about. Hey, that confidence could very well pour over into what you're sharing with the world, what you're teaching, how you connect the dots. And this can be exciting because Venus, Venus is there conjunct the new moon, and Venus is your chart ruler. Maybe this even indicates exciting trips with friends or family, or traveling just for fun and trying new things for fun, right? There's a sense of adventure, I think. There's a feeling of adventure. There's a feeling of, I want more experiences, more joy, more happiness, more fun, more pleasure, more play in my life. Yeah, this is what I'm getting from this new moon for you. All right, so let's move on to Scorpio now. Scorpio. Yes, Scorpio. Okay, we have this new moon happening in your 8th house, Scorpio. Oh, well, this is going to certainly be a time period of renewal with your Gemini in the 8th house. The way I kind of want to enter into this, Scorpio, is how you transform throughout your life. Because after all, you are the sign of transformation, aren't you? You are the sign that teaches us so much about renewal and about resilience, and that even if we get knocked down in life, even if we experience adversity and struggle and everything, we have the power, we have the strength to get back up, to keep fighting. So with Gemini in the eighth, of course, the eighth house looks at how we transform in this life. So for you, Gemini says that it's your mindset that transforms. And maybe this is the thing, you understand that often in life it is about mind over matter. Yeah, it's often about, no, but if I have a good mindset, then I can overcome pretty much anything in my life, right? It could be that kind of outlook, that sort of that view. And you may also look at it as your mind as a very powerful thing. Hey, maybe it's your mind that kept you safe as a child, or it does keep you safe throughout your life. It's a lot about how you read people, how you look beneath the surface, how you read between the lines, and how you communicate, right? It's like you can see how communication can be used in a manipulative and power hungry way, but how communication can also be used in a way where people get what they want, but you're also getting what you want. And there is that kind of equal exchange a bit. You, Scorpio, my goodness, let me just say this. Scorpio is a sign that is amazing. I mean, like impeccable at business, impeccable at management. If you have a Scorpio on your team, I can guarantee you they are the ones who want to be the manager. Not always, of course. But there's just something about how you communicate your points and how you even hold the conversation, how you carry it forward, that it can be deemed as really, really, like, I'm just going to say it can be deemed as sexy, right? Really attractive how you do that. But anyway, so the new moon happening in your eighth house, it can say a lot about these mental shifts, mindset shifts, mindset transformations, resilience, power, renewal, welcoming the change, welcoming greater insights, greater investigations to your benefit, even just expanding all of this stuff, because Jupiter is there in the eighth house. Possibly the expansion when it comes to the occult, when it comes to any research that you're doing, anything that you are investigating closely, deeply. And I further want to mention that there could be something quite significant and beautiful to do with other people's money. It could be where your partner comes into a good bit of success and money. Not now, I just want to say with the new moon, this information isn't to say that it happens on the new moon. It's more about an unfolding. It's more about, okay, how will life start to unfold from the new moon, because the new moon is about planting new seeds, new intentions. So yes, anyway, there could be some new beginnings to do with your partner's money and the progress of that. Could also be expansion and growth to do with shared resources, shared accounts, investments, loans, debt, stuff like this. But feeling actually quite lucky or feeling blessed. Blessed is probably a good word for it. And an inheritance could also be a thing here, or just coming into other people's money. So maybe just other people offering you money or support in some way, shape, or form. So yes, some potential exciting things coming up for Scorpio, but of course, it could also be where it's important to get quiet. It's important to even consider your own worries or stresses or tensions to do with your mindset at the same time. There could be something about the voices getting louder, or the self-doubt, or being quite critical, or going into really deep thoughts that can be quite it's like the ruminating, that type of stuff, possibly. And then also with the square to Saturn, hey, maybe the worrying or the ruminating is tied to children, or it's tied to your art, your hobbies, your craft, yeah. So there could just be some feelings of, oh, I'm not sure. Is this for me? Am I happy? Excuse me. Yeah. And then as well, just to finish off with the trine to Pluto, in the 4th house, right? So Jupiter and Mercury are making the trine to Pluto. There could potentially be, an unfolding of family matters, some news perhaps about siblings or about neighbors, some news about cousins. But yeah, there could be family matters, unexpected family matters that come up which could be quite like surprising and jarring, or they could be really motivating and powerful, like in a more motivational, inspirational way, if you will. Okay, so Sagittarius. Thank you all for being here, by the way, today. Sagittarius. All right, so we have this new moon happening in the sign opposite you. Sagittarius, this new moon, so new beginnings, intentions, can be really, really good for business, all the business deals, all the business contracts. This could be certain agreements. It's because it's more about you and another. There's something about you working with someone else, you and a certain customer, you and a certain client. But there could be that mutual exchange where you both decide, okay, right, is there something in this? Is there value in this? Possibly even could be you doing the one to reach out to for example, a colleague, a client, some sort of business person, a teacher, whoever, a mentor, you reaching out and getting the ball moving. Or it could be a matter of you sharing exciting and changeable news with your partner, with your spouse. Maybe such changes are quite, how do I say, childlike, fun. There's celebration. There's play involved in it. So there's just a couple of options there, but it could even be a matter of other people coming to you, right? Other people want to work with you. They recognize your knowledge, your wisdom, and it might even get to a point where you really have to decide, hey, that could be a big thing. Decision making. Decision making could be huge for you around this new moon and as it starts to unfold. Because Jupiter is your chart ruler and it's right there across from you. And so there could be just like, it can feel like there's a lot happening outside of you. There's a lot going on between friends and family, and you going from here to there, a lot of movement, having to adapt, having to adjust, keeping up with all the thoughts, keeping up with all the chatter, So yes, perhaps there is a part of this where there are decisions to be made. It's like, which option, which path? But as a Sagittarian, you may have this outlook of, well, if it's supposed to be, then it will be. And you could very well go down a certain path and then you trust that you'll make it to a different one, etc., etc. You can have this inner faith. You can have this outlook of, these are my beliefs. This is the path ahead and it's going to be all good, right? Could even be some positivity, but what I even want to mention about this is because Jupiter is across from you, perhaps, just perhaps, there can be moments of you not feeling the most positive, possibly, and being reminded, maybe other people having to remind you to be somewhat positive or to look on the brighter side of things. There could be some of that happening for you, Sagittarius. Or maybe it's you having to be that sort of helper or mentor, if you will, for others, for your friends, for your family. It's you kind of chatting with them and having a conversation about how they can maybe see the bright side. And of course, in a healthy way, not There's always a time and a place to do stuff like that. Just want to say that. But then what I further want to say is how the new moon is making those squares to Saturn. So here's where we see how such matters then to do with, okay, positivity, or to do with knowledge or sharing your wisdom, teaching, stuff like this. Those matters are perhaps linked to family, home, property. Yeah, being there maybe for your family, for your loved ones, more than anything around this time period. And even with Venus being in the seventh house, yeah, there could be some type of like financial opportunities or successes to do with, again, business deals, stuff like that. And then with the Jupiter Mercury energy making this the trine to Pluto, oh, perhaps there are also themes here to do with vehicles, commuting, driving, getting from A to B essentially, or maybe even taking another look at your neighborhood and how safe and how settled you feel there. Or there could be these renewals that you go through to do with neighbors, cousins, siblings, possibly having deeper conversations, maybe conversations that have you thinking about the past and how such matters will bring up a lot of stuff. A lot of psychological stuff could come up. But the beauty of that is you can gain greater clarity. You can gain a deeper perspective, greater understanding. Hello, hi to Ram Lam, welcome. And hello to James as well. Oh, nice. You say that you're a newbie in astrology. Cool. Gemini, so happy birthday to you. I'm assuming you mean the sun is in Gemini in your chart. So, yes, happy birthday. It's your season. All right, Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn. The new moon is happening in your sixth house. There's just so much. There is so much going on to do with work. There's so much going on to do with your health, your routines. Capricorn. So we could see for you switching things up, having to multitask, having to juggle more than usual. And maybe that can be really overwhelming for you. It can. Perhaps you even recognize what is no longer productive, right? Because Capricorn, you are a sign of being super productive, time management, you get that down to a T really well. You, whenever it comes to a new course or class or whatever you're learning, you want to be successful and you will typically commit. But with all the Gemini and the sixth, it could be where there is a part of this saying, oh, there's only so much time in the day that you have. And are you going to waste your energy on doing all of those things? And can you keep up with the schedules? Can you keep up with all of the changes and having to reschedule or having to cancel, having to rebook, whatever? And is there even something here about rest coming up? Where it kind of feels like you're not even getting a minute because the mental chatter is just there and there's a meeting here and there's another thing booked here. And it's just this, I'm getting from this that it's hard to keep up with it all. Maybe Capricorn, this is a great new moon for you to just sit back, explore the foundations of your work, or explore the layout, the structure of your everyday, and be honest with yourself about what is just no longer sustainable, what's no longer really practical, and what can you not really keep up with when you're honest with yourself. And even with the new moon making the square to Saturn, there does seem to be something about your mind, coming into this. It's about decisions. It's about making those pretty mature, pretty responsible choices or decisions linked to work, linked to your everyday. Maybe This is even about having a particular conversation with a coworker that needs to be had, perhaps related to tasks, related to time management, or related to a promotion. Or maybe you have these big ideas to do with promotion, to do with success, or upgrading in some way, shape, or form, right? And how such matters are then linked to your services and your work. Sure, yes, Jupiter and Venus can suggest expansion here and rewards and luck and all the rest of it. But there can also be this element of just taking on way too much, or feeling like you have to kind of load your brain with all the knowledge and all of the information. And it can maybe just get to a point where there's only so much, right? And you realize that there's only so much that you can do, and there's only so much that you can retain. Yes. So it's an interesting one for you in this regard, I think, Capricorn. Maybe as well, it's important to seek some type of help or support when it comes to your health. If there's anything, that's maybe bugging you, or anything that comes up and your health is calling your attention, try and not just repress that or shut it down, just to be proactive, to make those small changes, and to reach out to a particular consultant or a professional in some way. And hey, last thing I want to say, the trine to Pluto. So with the 6th house activation, work, services, and then the 2nd house activation, finances, earnings, there is a message here to do with you gaining greater power when it comes to your finances. And I think a big part of this then is recognizing the actions that you make in order to gain those materials, and maybe even assessing your intentions, right? What is the why? What are your intentions? But hey, it could just be that you are ready for a financial upgrade, if you will, a financial change. You're just like, I have been working hard, right? I have been doing all these hours all the time, etc. And you're craving some type of renewal there. Okay, so Aquarius. Excuse me. Aquarius. Yeah, so Aries is the ram. Yeah, cool. Yes, Aries sure do work hard. Put that Capricorn in the 10th. All right. Let's look to you, Aquarius. So we have the new moon happening in your 5th house. Wow. Yeah. Aquarius. How do I say this? You know how you're about freedom? You really are craving your freedom. And I think if you can sense that something is no longer enjoyable, let's think about a hobby. Let's think about something creative, something artistic, something you enjoy. If such matters are not enjoyable anymore, this is a new moon, I think, where you're going to be coming up with new ideas, new ways to gain that enjoyment again, to have that kind of that awe, right? It's that curiosity. Because Aquarius, you are such curious people. But the minute that it feels like, you can't really move forward anymore, or you can't enjoy the things that you used to enjoy, it just feels like the life has been sucked out of it. And so there is this craving for a change, this craving for a renewal, especially because Pluto is in the first house. Sorry, I was about to cough there, but Pluto is in the first house. And so we are going to see this with many Aquarians, right? This new version of them emerging, a new life trajectory, new life path, new aims, new goals, but the unexpected, really, and possibly shocking others with your new visions, your new dreams, your new hopes. But then with the trines to the fifth house, maybe such matters are also linked to children. Excuse me. Children, again, your hobbies, your forms of enjoyment, and your free time. I think a lot of Aquarians do enjoy their free time. And whenever it feels like that's blocked or limited in some way, then it's like, no. If it feels like you have to do something, then you're more likely not going to want to do it. So this, I feel, is a new moon of you really tuning in with your heart's desire. What lights you up, right? What lights you up? What gets you going? Naturally, with the square to Saturn, there's also, I think, a piece of this related to your self-worth and maybe some doom and gloom, or just focusing on the negative a little bit. Or, hey, and I say this with love, not seeing your worth and having to remind yourself of your worth, right? That actually, no, I am deserving of making such and such, or I am deserving of respect or being seen for my skills, for my qualifications. I am deserving because I have worked hard, right? And you did a lot of, from 2020 to 2023, Saturn was in your sign, Aquarius. Those few years were certainly years where you did prove yourself. You showed up. You were disciplined, dedicated, go. And I feel as if what has been slowly occurring for you is a lot of this patience to do with your materials and your earnings with Saturn in the second house. But I think the new moon in Gemini with the square is just kind of highlighting how can you recognize your value? How can you recognize that you do have gifts and that what you offer is enough, and maybe welcoming some type of change there, a change of perspective. It could be a simple thing of, maybe you're just not looking at a situation super clearly, or maybe it's reminding yourself of your own abilities, and even seeing that you do have certain skills that you've accumulated over the years, and they can be brought forward into a potential new role, a new position, a new job, whatever it is. So that's a possibility. And perhaps such a new role or position is actually what is tied to the enjoyment, fun, play stuff. So from you maybe reestablishing yourself, possibly work-wise, possibly more self-worth wise, but by doing so, there is a lot of spiritual growth, but there's also that growth then linked to time off, children, love, romance, fun, play, right? Especially with Jupiter there in the fifth house, just expanding upon all of this. Oh, yeah, I get you. The passion. Yeah. Pick it up again. Yeah. Oh, you say you've got an Aquarius rising. you know what? I feel you on that one. It's that it's that heart's desire thing. Like, I think just before we get to you, Pisces, sorry, just a minute, but I think that's a big reason for why I started my podcast, because I just needed something like an outlet, a creative outlet, where it wasn't like it wasn't about, oh, I want to think about how I can generate income from this, or how I can get my information out there, and to capitalize of it. It was just more about, this is freeing and I like this and I enjoy it, right? I really enjoy it. I feel you on that one. And I hope that painting, you say, I really hope that you do pick it up again. I do. And I hope that you enjoy it. All right. So Pisces, lastly, Pisces. So new moon happening in your 4th house. Every Pisces is moving. I'm only joking. Every Pisces is moving away. No, but for real, I think this is more of an emotional security thing. This is more of a secure, like a stable, secure inner life. But yet, of course, because this is Gemini, it's like you holding space for the different parts of your inner life, your inner world. Really, this is sort of an opportunity, Pisces, for you to get creative within your home, to get creative when it comes to just feeling safe, feeling secure within your home, and maybe even switching things up massively on a physical level. Great time for reading, writing, learning, doing all of your research, having conversations with family members, asking them what their opinions are, bouncing ideas off others, even if you have housemates, for example, spending time with your parents, spending time with your spouse, with your partner, trying new things together, right? Yeah, just that quality time, I think. That quality time with friends, family, loved ones, all the rest of it. And it's that change. It's that change of scenery, possibly. Taking a certain trip away, or having a time of uh, just that togetherness, that togetherness with family. Or of course, it could be this likelihood, like I was saying, the possibility of relocating, or just having these ideas to do with relocating, having some kind of sense of, I want to move to here, or I want to live here. Those thoughts could be coming up, and you possibly wanting to take that leap, possibly wanting to make those moves. But then again, it could also be a matter of changing the interior of your house, design, decorating, DIY projects, stuff like that. How fun. You could be a Pisces and you're really into that, right? Um, it could also then be a matter of, you are waiting, right? You're waiting for information to come through about your house, about property, waiting for information from family members, because Saturn is making that square to the new moon. Or, it could be a matter of, there are these setbacks and these delays to do with your aims or your goals, and achieving your aims and goals. And how such matters then require some type of review, or just having a look at the facts, having a look at the information, and maybe even doing some calculations and figuring out the budgets, or figuring out the financial situation for yourself. Again, related to family, and even, again, it could go back to your emotional security. So for instance, seeing the sort of visual information in front of you could be a lot. It can be a good way to help manage your own emotions, or to make you feel a bit more calm and a bit more settled. So that's an example. And I also want to mention that there is the trine to Pluto. between Jupiter there. So Jupiter and Pluto, the trine. So we have this 12th house influence in the equation. Just pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to those cosmic spiritual downloads that are coming through. Could also be a good time of like seeing things in a flash, seeing the bigger picture, but when you're alone, maybe even spending some time to yourself, Pisces. That could be a big thing for your mental well-being, your mental health. So yeah, having some time of contemplation, some time to just be away from many people, and to be within your own energetic field, I suppose, and possibly even just time to retreat, to do certain activities that are possibly, spiritual by nature, which can be quite healing. Okay, so that is everyone. Thank you all so much for joining today. And I want to say again, thank you to my patrons over at Patreon. Thank you. And if you do wish to check out the podcast, you can by going to Cosmic Check-In Podcast. There are many episodes up. And if you did enjoy this live stream, you can always buy me a coffee, but of course, no pressure. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, you can go to hannahselsewhere.com. Thank you all so, so much. Yay, we've been able to keep it under 2 hours today. Let's try and see if I can keep that up. Thank you all so much. I wish you the best new moon in Gemini. All the very best. Good luck, and I hope that it serves you well. And I hope that you find this video to be helpful today. Thank you, everyone. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to get going, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Bye, everyone.